Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited, actually, to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring King show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real important live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. There's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. The whole crew is back tonight.
Yeah, good job showing up, everyone.
Yeah. still struggling with a cough over here a little bit, but we're all doing good, man.
Yeah, I'm also playing a little hurt here. I'm an open book, so as promised, my brother and I did smoke victory cigars after the Canes won the ACC on Saturday, and yeah, my throat and lungs. I feel like Jazz looks right now. It's just
you're too old for that crap.
I've been paying for it. Good cigars though. Good cigars.
Yeah,
also, shout out to my brother. It's his birthday today, so that was also happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That was also a cause for celebration. So we had a good time, and then this evening we found out Isaiah Wong, ACC Player of the Year.
I know, that's nice.
Good things happening on the court.
Considering he's playing like crap lately too. That's good.
Hey man. Don't be trashing us in our moment.
We are a show of the people here. We got to tell it how it is. You know,
you're keeping it real.
Keeping it real. We got to keep it real.
So we try to get some of these people on the program later, and they're like, "That dude."
That's all right. I'm sure they'll appreciate us keeping it real, right? You're playing like crap. Get it together if you want to make a run in the tournament. All right.
He was named ACC Player of the Year today.
I don't care. Get it together. Make a run. Forget about the ACC championship. And Nigel Pack, although has been balling. I know he had a bad game against Pitt, but whatever. Who cares? Get it together if you want to make a run. That's it. I don't want to hear it.
I mean, if one guy hits 6 threes, we'll be fine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, why not? Let's just do that. Yeah. Larry Bluestein, what's going on, my friend? I busy man this weekend. I was at a couple of things as well myself. So spring football is underway, huh? Are we excited about it or what? I got a couple things to say, by the way, about spring practice. I was impressed.
Go ahead, get them out of the way.
Yeah, I think actually, you know what? Let's. Hello, Daniel Gillette. How are you, my friend?
Good.
Good.
Can't complain. Good to be
Daniel.
back.
Is the weather starting to change over there? We're going.
It is finally it's starting to change. We're up to the 40s now. So I mean, New England's not for everybody, and I don't see you traveling up here and trying to get on a plane here, Jazz. So
nope, I'm waiting till the summer.
Go see the Red Sox. You'll get cheap tickets.
Yeah, I bet I would. Oh man!
Yeah, good thing they don't play the Marlins there. They'll be giving away tickets on the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
They just played the Marlins, I think, in spring training. Right?
Spring training. It's still
different, obviously, but we're excited about it. Like I mentioned earlier, this first spring practice. Spring practice was a Saturday as they opened up, and they also did Junior Day as well, Junior Elite Day, whatever you call it. We'll definitely talk a little bit about that also, but I was excited. It's just, look, man, it's just being there, right? And being around football again, Miami Hurricanes football, seeing a lot of the new faces, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, and of course it's limited, right? What you get to see a little bit, but it's still exciting to see certain things. And then, look, there's certain players where you look at them, you say, this is a dude right here. This is that dude. And then some other guys, you're like, okay, he looks like he needs a little bit of work. He's a little raw. But I can see it, right? And I'm putting it lightly, of course. But and I'll mention a couple of guys like that. But to be quite honest with you, man, the first guy The first guy that stood out, shout out to Pimp Down and Gus on the chat. The first guy that stood out to me as a guy that you look at him, you're like, whoa, this is that dude. He just looked the part, and he looked like he's ready to play college football now. Emory Williams, folks. Emory Williams looks like that dude. I mean, standing next to TVD, taller than TVD, it almost looked like. Okay, he was up there just a little bit shorter than Jakari Brown. We all know he's about 6'4", 6'5", so he's a big kid. But we're talking about, it looked like he had the best zip on the ball. And I know, look, we're in shells and they're throwing routes to open receivers with nobody covering, yada, yada, yada. But, sometimes you kind of get that feeling. You look at some of these guys and they're up there, they're standing there, and they just look the part, right? So Emory Williams was the first guy that stood out to me right off the bat from the new guys, okay? Well, I can talk about the older guys until I'm blue in the face, but the two guys that stood out to me from the older guys, the vets, the guys that have been here already, Kobe Young and Isaiah Horton. Isaiah Horton, it looks huge. He almost looks like a tight end for the love of God. So does Kobe Young, by the way. They're just big, strong wide receivers, which is something that we've been missing here for a little bit, is some guys that look like that, right? Some of the other guys we didn't get to see. Some guys are being held out or whatnot, but those are the two guys that stood out right away. Another kid that stood out was, again, in a red jersey, so non-contact, but Ray Joseph. Nathaniel Joseph was another kid that was catching the ball, looked like the fastest kid on the field again. I mean, it was exciting to see those guys. Didn't get to see much of the defense because they were all the way on the other side. They didn't let us get out there and see them, but did get to see a little bit of Coach Lance Guidry working with who? The safeties, of course, right? So you've got Lance Guidry working with the safeties right off the bat, which I love to see, right? That's his specialty. He's going to go out there. He's going to train those safeties. He's going to develop those safeties. We're talking about Markeith Williams, Cam Kitchens. And by the way, Blue, you can probably solidify this for me as well. Cam Kitchens is a captain of this team. Forget about the defense. He is a captain of this team. And everybody looks to him. Changed his number. He's now wearing number 5 as well.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of guys changed their number, actually. So Brian Balaam looked good. You got Jaden Harris is working with the safeties. He looks like the safety. He looks like a safety now with how much weight he's put on. He looks good. Caleb Spencer's another kid that we saw out there. Corey Couch changed his number as well. He's number 0. So it looks good. Like the eye test, yeah. Look, pinned down exactly. I've only seen pictures.
What number's Williams now?
James Williams went back to number 20. He went back to 20.
That's a good number for him.
Yeah, I like that number for him. I like that number. If we're gonna talk about numbers, what the hell? It's a nice number, But yeah, some of those guys, man, they just look the part. The eye test, and this looks like a bigger team. Believe it or not, I know,
good.
We're all talking about, this looks like a big team, a big, strong team that looks like they can compete. Now, the guy that I wasn't so impressed with, okay, and I'm sorry I'm kind of going on a rant here, but the guy that I wasn't so impressed with was a guy that I saw works hard. He's a hard worker, and I think he's going to have a bright future here eventually as a tight end, Jackson Carver. He just kind of looks a little bit raw when it comes to pass catching, right? And I think that was not his knock, but not the strongest suit with him, right? I think he was more of that blocking guy, the guy that can do some things around the line of scrimmage. But you saw him running from routes, didn't look crisp, didn't look great at the beginning. But I think that's all going to kind of shape itself out. You didn't see a lot of tight ends out there. Royals not playing yet. He's not fully healthy, and Khalil Brantley out of nowhere decides to enter the transfer portal.
Yeah, was that expected? That caught me off guard.
I think that caught everybody off guard, to be honest with you. Last year he performed well, caught the ball when he needed to, blocked when he needed to, did really well when he had the chance to. So, I was kind of looking forward to him coming in. But look, a lot of people are saying, well, he doesn't fit the size, right? You've got Cam McCormick coming in, the transfer from Oregon. You've got these two big guys, Riley Williams, Jackson Carver, Elijah Arroyo. Just kind of doesn't fit the size.
Mammarelli's still there.
Mammarelli, yeah, another. Those are all big dudes. Khalil Brantley 6'2", maybe 6'3", 225 pounds on the smaller end. I don't really care, man. I think if you can play, you can play. I don't care about your size, but
yeah,
it was a bit of a surprise. It really was. So.
It could also just be. I mean, you just listed off 5 tight ends. It's.
Exactly.
I don't think we're gonna go full air raid, but we're not going to run a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets for him to get on the field. Like last year was, on paper at least, a good tight ends offense.
Right.
This is not going to be that anymore. We'll probably have one out there, but not multiple tight ends, 2 tight end sets, and a lot of opportunities.
I don't think you'll see.
And you start looking at that depth chart. Where is he on it? And I think that's probably driving it a lot more.
Sure.
Because if you start looking at the class coming in after you, and you're like, I'm behind, start falling behind those guys, that's when it's probably time to go.
Yeah, and I think he, instead of him having to do that, decided to move on.
Especially, I'm assuming he's got an option.
I liked him though. I liked him.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. No knock on the kid.
So that's my take on spring practice. It's early. It's a first practice, but I really like what I saw out of Emory Williams. Built like a big time quarterback already. So I was really excited to see him. But all 3 quarterbacks look good. They all look like they had some zip on the ball. Coach Shannon Dawson was out there leading that team, leading that offense. It was exciting to see Coach Kevin Beard out there with the wide receivers. I know he hasn't been announced yet because Mario Cristobal likes it. Whatever, but Kevin Beard was out there coaching the wide receiver. I see you nodding your head there, Blue. You saw Coach Tim Ice Harris Jr. out there as well with the running backs. Really excited to see those guys, as I mentioned earlier, Lance Guidry as well. So the new coaching staff was out there. This is what I kind of want to talk to you guys about, right? The coaching staff. Let's kind of go through that real quick because we haven't really gotten too deep into some of the newer guys like Coach Harris and Coach Beard.
Well, you use the royal we there, but DJ and I did get deep into that.
We did.
YouTube played hooky last week.
They probably got into averaging last week.
That's why it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
I had to recall we have not all been on the show since apparently Blue slightly said maybe someone's more experienced than Heiss Harris Jr. and then we hired him, and then everyone but Blue's comments on Twitter blew up with, why does Blue hate the hire? And then Blue was near. So then DJ and I tried to explain.
Yeah, we tried to defend you guys.
I think we just got to give Blue the floor here to
absolutely.
Yeah. Blue, how do you feel about both hires, Tim Harris and Kevin Beard?
Yeah, well, I like them. I mean, I was just kind of worried what direction they would be going in. You have a and especially going off of last year where you had an offensive coordinator did lock themselves in the room and didn't let anybody else come in. And I see Dawson's not like that. And being a running backs coach, it's a very integral part of this, offense. And then obviously off the charts with I'm always been a Kevin Beard fan. Good guy, good coach. It's his school. He wants to do as well. It's like Mario. They want to do real well. That's why I'm a big advocate of bringing back guys who went to the school. It doesn't always mean a lot. Didn't mean, it didn't work out well for Randy Shannon. Didn't work out well for Rick Neuheisel at UCLA. So I'm not going to defend what I said. I just felt that he could have, in his time at UCF, he was never fully given the reins. You're a co-offensive coordinator, but when the offensive coordinator leaves, you're not good enough to be named the offensive coordinator. And that means that, there was some hesitation by Malzahn, but I, you guys made a good point. And you were just talking about, what the kids look like and, how big they are. And, it makes me think, Jazz, that Coach Feldstein is starting to do his job instead of being a rah-rah on the sideline. Get your ass in the damn weight room and, get these kids bigger and stronger, and you could do all the pumping up you want. I'm a productivity guy, what you do on the outside is fine. But, when these kids are bigger and stronger like they used to be, that's the main thing. Jason Taylor, too, is I always felt that Jason Taylor, I've been privy over the last, previous 5-6 years to watch him at the high school level. And he's just a figurehead. No, he's a coach and he enjoys it. He knows every facet of the game. He isn't, he's like a Pete Rose type of guy, even though Pete Rose demands so much and they're both like big time guys who've broken records and done stuff. They still are good enough, to teach. They're not they don't expect, the people to be them. That's the whole thing. And that's sometimes when you get a coach of that caliber, they want you to be and play like them. Well, not everybody could be like Pete Rose, and not everybody could be Jason Taylor. But to me, watching what Jason Taylor did with Nicholas Benito, and I saw it firsthand when Nicholas comes over from U School, and in just one game against Bosco from California, he's showing them different swim moves. A kid got in there, had 2 sacks, and he was never the same. He just same thing with Dallas. Here's a kid, Dallas. It's a great basketball player, Dallas Turner, and he comes over from American Heritage. And kid's starting as a freshman at Alabama because of what somebody like what Taylor taught him. So having him on staff, just having him anywhere in the building is great. But having him on staff, and and it's not by intimidation because he's a Hall of Famer, but that everybody on that defense respects what he brings to the table. Because the kids respect him. And I've talked to a lot of the kids and they go, wow, he knows what he's doing. Yeah, he does. He won 3 straight titles with St. Thomas because of his defense. So, and I'll tell you what, you don't want to be around his ass when he loses. He's not a good loser. And, I watched it firsthand. So, I think in all the coaches that we added, especially, on the offensive side with Kevin Beard and obviously Timmy Harris, you got guys who want to work and guys who are not, I've been in the game for 30 years and I'm just going to go through the motions type. Now, Tim Harris comes from a family. His dad never let anybody breathe. And, I remember when Booker T was out at a summer 7-on-7 up in New Smyrna Beach. It was one of those $10,000 tournament. An inner city team ain't gonna hang out unless they can win that 10,000. And he made his teams, instead of going under a tent or under a tree, made them sit in the sun. And it's a man's world, he kept saying. And Timmy's the same way. Tim's a no nonsense guy. Kevin Beard's probably not as much of a disciplinarian as he is a teacher, and I think we need that. And I do want to interject because I told you guys with Sam Shields and Chantrell Henderson, who accelerated when they left the University of Miami, add Willem Mallory to that. And I said that before. 4.56 in the 40, fastest time of any tight end. He's going to be gobbled up, and he's going to play. And he's not going to be Gronkowski, but he's going to be one of those dudes that can run and get upfield, and he's 6'6". I just wanted to interject that because I watched him a little bit at the combine the other day, and when he ripped off that 4.56, and then during the drills, he didn't drop a ball. So I said, you know what, just another guy, and that's the problem. When Mario Cristobal and I talked last year, how come these kids weren't coached up? Why weren't these kids elevated? Every year's supposed to get better. And you guys watch. That hasn't happened. These kids weren't getting better. And that's the reason why they didn't progress. So, but I saw Colin Hurley yesterday. Boy, he got big. Whew. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, well, before you get into that, because I know we're gonna get into that for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just looking because he just texted me on my phone, so I was just kind of was fresh on my mind.
You know what? Screw it. Does Miami still have a shot with him?
I think he's pretty entrenched with LSU.
Oh man, that's a kid that we talked about.
Well, he grew. You should see him now, Jazz. Jeez, he's gotten real thick, and he was the most accurate guy there yesterday, and he won the award for his accuracy. And yeah, he's got that funky hair, but who cares? He can barely probably put it over his helmet. But I'll tell you, he's, guys like that, and now when you start having, I don't want to use the what we used a couple of weeks ago when we were all on the show when I was talking about recruiting, and every coach that comes, oh, he's a great recruiter, and then talking to some coaches and they go, it's overblown. Recruiting takes care of itself when you win. I mean, you don't have to do the 3-card Monty if you're winning. I mean, you don't have to, hey, it's under this hand, it's under that. No, you just tell the kids, hey, look what we've done. So I'm excited. I'm excited about the spring. I know all of us had a lot of anticipation on who the coordinators were. We have them now. We have pretty much a full staff. Don't know if Adai will make it until next year, but you never know. I mean, it's been a revolving door. But I agree with you.
Last domino to fall.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, Jazz. I mean, yeah. I'll tell you what, that's a good comparison. He and Mike Gesicki are pretty good comparison. But no, I was just saying, Jazz, you're spot on with your assessments. We talked about Emory Williams probably before anybody else did, and and then having him there, and like you said, Ray is going to be special, and that's a reason. In open space, he can accelerate and get out. We didn't have a lot of guys like that last year. We had those real quick catches, and they were done.
Yep.
But I think he extends the play to the point where, he catches the ball maybe on a 10, 12 yard, out, and he could turn it up and he'll outrun everybody. And that gives you that, even though he's not the big receiver. And I know that we're kind of excited about Kobe Young. And the only thing I always say about, Kobe Young, Redding, those type of guys, and they've got good size, you got to catch the ball consistently, because if they don't, what's the sense? So that's going to be one of the things that they'll have plenty of time. They'll have plenty of chances in this offense, I think, to do a lot of things. And obviously, they're not going to, they cut you guys off at 15 minutes. I think that's the worst. I was talking to Gabby or Rudy about that. I says, come on, let them watch, a practice, I mean, and when you do your, you implement new things and you kick their ass out. But, I mean, why? I mean, you guys have waited all off season to watch these kids. And now that everybody's in place, now you're going to have 15 minutes. I'm calling out Cam on that. No.
Yeah, it's it kind of stinks because you don't really get to see what the players on the far end are doing. So, most of the defense you can really tell. You can see what a lot of the offensive linemen were doing, but you still got to see some of the guys. Look, they're still missing a bunch of players. Javion Cohen wasn't there because he was at the NFL Symposium up in Indianapolis. That symposium is for players that are potentially, I guess, high draft picks in next year's draft, or potential big time players that are going to come out and get drafted next year. So he was there at that symposium in Indianapolis. So you still missed him. Obviously he's probably back by now, but Zion Nelson is still nursing an injury, so you don't get to see him yet. You got to see. I think it was Jalen Rivers, Inez Cooper, Matt Lee was there. So, you got some of that offensive line is there ready to go. John, where did you get that hat from? Where did I get this hat from? I think it was Lids. I think the Lids in Dayland Mall is where I got it from. Yeah, I believe it is Lids.
How long ago was that? Is this a new hat or is this?
This was probably a little bit less than a year ago.
So if our boy travels from, I'm assuming, Atlanta down to Miami to go to the Lids at J-Lo Mall, you're guaranteed.
You could probably order it online. I would assume
you can buy stuff off the internet. What?
You can probably get it on Lids there. So, if you're from ATL, if you're from down here and you just have the ATL tag, then yeah, the Lids in Dayland. That's where I got it. So. You can check them out there. Tell them Jazz sent you. That's not going to do anything for you, but you can always tell them anyways.
Jazz too.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just fun to watch, man. It's fun to see football back, even if it was for 15, 20 minutes. I think that, once we get the full squad out there and, we see these coaches kind of, put together their game plans and their schemes, and they're still learning a lot right now. So you're probably not going to see anything too crazy. I think what you noticed the most out of this practice from what we saw really is just stuff that you're going to see in every practice, right? Tempo. You want to kind of get that cardio going. You want to get kind of that stamina going, especially in an air raid offense, right? You got to get ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. That's not a secret. That's why I guess they let you see that kind of stuff. It's not a secret. When you have the air raid offense, you got to go, right? You got to get your formations. You got to, throw that screen pass, that whatever that like a bubble screen. You got to throw the quick hitches. Then every once in a while you go deep. Boom. It's all the same thing, right? Everybody knows that. That's not a secret. So I guess they let you kind of see all that stuff. And as far as the running backs are concerned, Les has a question. What's up, Les? With Chaney back, how do you what is it? What's the question? If you can put it up there, Vish. How do you see? I guess how do you see the running back position play?
Basically, just how do I think the last part's the question? How do you see the running back position playing out?
Yeah, I think I have an idea, but I want to throw it to DJ and to Vish first. So DJ, what are your thoughts on the running back situation?
I feel
if
like
they're all healthy, right? If everybody's healthy and back ready to go.
This one's tough because it's a very loaded running back room. That's what we said
last year, right? That's what we said last year.
I mean, yeah, it's one thing to have a loaded running back room. It's another thing to actually use it. But anyway, would it be crazy to put Citizen as the top running back? I mean,
maybe not at the beginning, but I think he could eventually.
I think by maybe mid-season, you see Citizen as RB1.
Yeah. Wow.
There's no reason to me where I don't see him becoming RB1 at some point next season. I mean, you have all these guys in the room. Use them.
What do you think, Vish?
So, my prize pick for the running backs, since you guys can't get to the damn ad read, is I think Chaney's the best back on this team. He's never been healthy, but if he stays healthy, he's the man. He's better than Parrish. He's better than Citizen. He's. I think people forget how good he is because he keeps getting injured. He would have been RB1 last year. He was better than Jalen Knighton, and then he got injured again. Like, it's always been injuries with him.
That's my issue with him, right?
It could be.
You can't be the best if you're not in the field playing, man.
He's going to be there this year. He's going to be there this year. I have faith in my man there.
I hope so. I think he's that good. I don't know if he's better than a developed Trevante Citizen. I think Trevante Citizen is unbelievable, but I tend to lean towards that too. But I that Chaney being RB1 is a strong possibility. He's that talented. He is that good. I totally agree with that. However, I'm not going to take anything away from Henry Parrish. The only guy that stayed healthy most of the year and ran the ball well, ran the ball hard with a makeshift third string offensive line. I think he did well.
I mean, he got injured too.
Yeah, towards the end, he did get injured a little bit, but he was the healthiest back out of all of them, and he showed a thing or two, man. I think he's very, very talented. I wouldn't put it past Henry Parrish saying, "Yeah, the hell with all of you guys that think that I'm going to lose out on that RB1," and he's going to stay there. He could produce it. He could be really good. The good thing is that if you get a healthy Don Chaney, you get a healthy Henry Parrish, you eventually get a healthy Trevante Citizen. You still got Mark Fletcher and Chris Johnson behind those three that are like, y'all better not sleep because we're coming for you, right? Chris Johnson might be the fastest guy on this team. So if with ball in a guy's hands like that.
Yeah, with his speed, there's got to be like a package to get the ball.
Got to be something. I will tell you who I think there is going to be a package for this year again, and I think it's going to be a really fun and exciting package against Jakari Brown. I think he's going to have a package this year, and rightfully so. I think you got to get him in on some packages, some gimmicky plays, and make some stuff happen. Plus, looks like his arm strength has gotten a lot better too. So I like to see what he's doing. Yeah, so the running back room is going to be interesting, Blue. You heard Trevante, you heard DJ say Trevante Citizen, potentially RB1 eventually. Vish saying Chaney is best back, which I kind of tend to lean towards that as well if he's healthy. My problem is he's not healthy, so I can't say he is or he isn't. What's your take on the running back situation?
Parrish is our most reliable back. Obviously, he's got more experience. More game time, and he stays in that position until he's unseated. I just don't see him, they're but they're going to have a lot of combinations. And I agree with Vish because I've had an opportunity to watch Cheney since he was in the 8th grade and watched him mature into a man, and watched him 3 straight years win the state high jump, and in his senior year jump 7 feet. So athletically, he's a dude. His old man was a dude too. When he played at Homestead back in the day, and he's such a good kid, and he's a smart kid. And I think he's going to be graduating, or if he didn't already. So and he's one of those guys that, is not going to do stupid things. He's going to be one of those guys that everyone is going to gravitate towards. And see, they're very fortunate in the kids that they got. And I think that was on purpose to recruit kids, that they can play, but kids that have character. And, I don't have to tell you about Zay Restrepo. He's the ultimate character kid. The kid could end up with his doctorate before he's finished playing football. But to answer your question, I think that Parrish stays there, and he's going to be their main guy. Catches the ball out of the backfield real well, and that's going to be a lot of that. But isn't it it's not a bad thing, guys, to have somebody like a Citizen, or to have a guy, that we've just talked, and having a Fletcher, who I think that he's going to make a little bit of a mark during the summer. They're going to see how hard he runs, and and they're going to go, wait a minute. You talk about putting in some packages, let's get this horse, running a little bit, get him on a swing pass, or get him upfield. And I want to see a safety is going to come up and tackle him. Yeah. And he's got speed. So they've got a lot of avenues. And you mentioned Chris Johnson. You get Chris in space. He turns that corner, and he did it, like I said, last week or 2 weeks ago. He did it against Central. He did it against St. Thomas. So those are 2 very, very, very fast teams with a lot of athletes that are Power 5 kids. In Chaminade.
Right.
And he'll take a swing pass, or he'll get, a pitch. He'll get outside so fast. And your corners are like, whoa, wait a minute. And your safeties are never going to be able to recover, because if he's running down the sideline, he'll just pull away from him. So, right. And he could do it at this level. But I say, he and Robbie Washington got to be in the kick returns. And, I think, they could utilize all these people somewhere. You still know where Restrepo's got great hands, and he's going to be a really good punt returner. Right? I would much rather him get 10, 12, 14 yards on a punt return rather than fumble. And that's the one thing I like about him. And I think we got a lot of options for kick returners. And that may really open the game. Who is the special teams coach? I'm trying to think.
Marwan Malouf, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I think him and I think it's really Coach Cristobal. I think Cristobal is really like a special teams guy, but Malouf, I think, is the one that handles them for the most part.
Well, Miami certainly has the kicking game in Borregales, and they certainly have the return potential.
They got a new Aussie punter too, Dylan Joyce.
Yeah. Well, got to see how he does. But I'm just talking about what's on hand, and we know Borregales is a weapon, field goal wise, and kicking, keeping starting everybody at the 20-25, and not so much. But that from an offensive standpoint, I think Miami needs, and I think that offense, if you start your plays at the 40-45 or midfield, you start your series, wow, you're going to put a lot of points on the board. And that's why I think it's really essential to have special teams. If you guys remember back in the day, that's how Miami really made their living, by blocking kicks, blocking punts, returning. When Lamar Miller was returning, they even did really well. But that's essential. I think it's and the very fact that I didn't even know who the special teams coach was is kind of sad.
That's all right. That's all right.
It's always called Solinger to us. So
yeah. Well, Coach Solinger is. That's right. In between,
it's always him. It's always him.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Maybe it's him still.
Yeah, we don't even know it. Let's real quick, let's get to our before Vish Rips me a new one. Let's talk about our sponsor, Price Picks, real quick. Let's give a shout out to PricePicks.com, the official sponsor here of the Six Rings Canes show. Check them out. Go to PricePicks.com. When you log in and register, put in the code FIVE, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. Make sure you check them out. It's real simple. You can choose anywhere between 2 to 5 players. Choose the over/under on their individual categories and win some money. Here's the good thing about it, right? Like you can mix and match different teams, different leagues, different sports. You can do all that good stuff. You can go from the NFL to Major League Baseball to the NBA, NHL, even Formula One is in it. Make sure you catch our show on Wednesdays. Shameless plug. So make sure you guys check them out. It's PricePicks.com. It's real simple. Choose between 2 to 5 players. Choose the over/under on their individual categories and win some money, baby. Go to PricePicks.com, log in, use the code FIVE, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. Check them out, PricePicks.com. David, you had a question here in the chat that we are going to get to now. I'm glad you said that. I was hoping for a commit or two today. So, interesting that you mentioned that. Miami had their junior day on Saturday after their first spring practice. So they had about 1 million kids out there. Some really, really big time prospects were out there. If I could name them for you, I would. But I can tell you that there was guys like Brandon Baker was out there, Chris Wheatley Humphrey. I don't even know if
he was up there yesterday too.
Yeah, he was up there. So, and we'll get to that, Blue, because I want you to talk about that because I think that that's big for recruiting as well. Then you got Zaquan Patterson, another kid who was probably out there as well. Yeah, you've got some big time talent that was at this junior day on Saturday, and then they ended up turning around and hold on a second. You guys getting feedback on my mic? Or you guys?
I mean, I asked in the chat if it was in our private chat. It was just me, but sure, just go ahead and read it out on air.
No, because if you guys
a little bit, yeah,
I can hear a little like buzzing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Better?
Worse.
Really? Is it worse now?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You're hearing it too, right, DJ? Yeah.
I don't hear it.
It's like you're.
What about now?
Oh yeah.
That's even worse. Jeez,
it's like old school when you like used to leave your cell phone too close to the microphone. It would like hiss.
Yeah. Oh,
Except I don't think that happens anymore because wait, it's gone.
Well, yes, because
now it's back.
Oh no.
Now it's back.
How about this? I'm gonna get out and come back in. In the meantime, Blue, why don't you talk about what you saw up in Orlando?
Yeah. Talk about Orlando.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of the guys that you just mentioned, obviously, were up there. Chris Humphrey. I had the pleasure of covering his dad back in the day at South Broward. His dad brought him up. Really treat yesterday seeing Noel Devine. You know, I got an opportunity to see Noel. His kid is going to be a senior up at North Fort Myers.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you the story.
Talk about feeling old, man.
Nah. I'll tell you a story off. It's not. You're not as old as you think. But
okay.
But
Jazz, you're still buzzing, man.
Am I really?
Yeah.
I can't hear it at all.
Yeah, when I mute your mic, it goes away. It's definitely you.
Is he all right?
What do you mean he's all right? Like healthy? Yes.
No, I mean it's no. But anyway, so
you're good. You're good.
Okay, so at the while we're talking a little bit about the Under Armours at West Orange High School, and they had some really, really good guys. A lot of those international players kind of like dominated from Clearwater Academy International, like the offensive lineman Jason Zandamela, and but they had some kids, you know. I mean, I thought that the Stacy Gage, who I mentioned, the running back who's now at St. Thomas Aquinas, Ryan Mack, who's a legacy, his father Rod was a linebacker at Miami back in the day. As you mentioned, Zaquan Patterson, big time kid. Got a chance to watch Josiah JoJo Trader from Chaminade, who's probably a really good wide receiver, but he could play on the other side of the ball as well. got a chance to see, you talk about commits. The Tavoy Fagan kid out of Tampa Carrollwood Days committed now to Clemson, but that could change, as we saw with Ray down the line. Another kid that I liked a lot was the kid out of Lakeland, Brayshawn Williams, and I watched him in the state championship game as well. They had a lot of future kids. There's a defensive end out of Orlando, Bishop Moore, just a 2026 kid, but he just dominated. Jake Kroll is, from what I hear, is they've got bloodlines down here in South Florida. A kid that I talked about, being out an international student, Tycleen Lumen, as a defensive end out of Miami, New Orleans. He transferred from Miami Jackson. Definitely a guy Miami's been on big time. He's like 6'3", about 250, 252. Another kid I know that Miami's been looking at is an offensive lineman by the name of Max Buchanan from Sanford Seminole up in the Orlando area. Another young kid, but Miami's done well with the Jacksonville area kids over the years. And certainly Solomon Thomas is out of Rains. He's only going to be a junior, but he's like 6'4", 290. I thought the other kid that a lot of people were looking at is Rodney Hill. He's a linebacker. He's 5'11", 210 now. He's out of Flagler Palm Coast, but he's, I know that Florida was on him, but Miami's looking at a lot of these kids. Like, obviously Cedric Bailey out of Chaminade, he's a 6'6" kid. So, you look at him and he's automatically an alluring figure right off the bat as a quarterback. But the two guys that really got me, and I think that just because he's been down here twice and he's played on the 7-on-7 team, is the kid Corey Duff. He's a 6'6", 6.5 wide receiver tight end from Riverhead, St. Anthony's in New York. And he's been down here 2-3 times, and he visited Miami. So that's a kid that I definitely think that people should kind of keep an eye on. And there's another guy right up the road in North Palm Beach. He's a defensive back. He's a safety by the name of Ricky Knight III. So they had some good, they had some really good guys. Obviously, a lot of the kids that I mentioned, but there was a lot more that kind of stood out. A lot of the quarterbacks, as I mentioned, Colin Hurley, who's right now committed to LSU, and that could stick. You never know what happens down the line, but then he reclassified. So now he's a 24 kid. And I know we got a chance, Jazz, you and I got a chance to see him last year at the Paradise Camp. He came down for that. He's been down 2-3 years. Obviously, his grandfather was a coach at Killian. His dad went coach at Central. But so you're always in the game. You're always in the game. But everything depends on what happens this year with Miami and how the kids work out. That's why I think it was very much an urgency to get these type of coaches that are going to come in and elevate and take nothing but the best out of these kids. And with Tim and with Beard and obviously with Jason Taylor, you got good coaches that will get the most out of everybody. So I feel good from that standpoint.
I think that brings up a great question. I'm sorry if you guys hear buzzing in the back, but
there. I was about to say it's gone, but then
it came back.
Yeah,
it's not that bad. You can power through it. It's not that bad. It was worse earlier.
All right, good. So I think that's a big question, right? Because the recruiting has been slow so far in 2024. What do you all think is the reasoning behind why 2024 recruiting has been so slow so far? Going in now until National Signing Day and all that. Why do you think it's been so slow? We can start off with you, Vish.
Because the 2022 season was terrible, and we didn't have coaches in place. So how are you going to recruit? I think it's one thing for the 23 class, which has to make a decision. For the 24 class, like they probably want to know who our coaches are, who am I working with? Like there was no reason for them to rush that decision. We have not been stable. Who's committing to this? Over all the chaos we've had over the last couple of months, if you can wait and make a decision later. So I think it'll pick up now. But we didn't have coordinators in place. There was rumors that coaches leaving, which ultimately did leave. So, it wasn't a stable situation. It feels like every week we're coming on there like which coach left now? So it wasn't, there is something to be said about ripping the Band-Aid off and
Tim.
Yeah, and just making moves to be decisive. We didn't do that, so I think that's a lagging indicator now is the recruiting. But I'm not worried about it. I think now that we have the staff in place, it's solidified. I think it gives them something to commit to because there wasn't really anything to commit to. Which coach? I mean, you knew Mario would be here. Other than that, it's like who are you committing to? What offense were you running? What defense were you running? No one really knew.
That's a big thing. This is a good question. Kane's gonna give it to you. Is Mr. Jackson staying with us? Funny enough, guess who was walking by in shorts and hanging out on campus on Saturday when spring practice started and when junior day was there? Mr. Antoine Jackson was there. He was on campus. He was hanging out with the team. So I think that look, all these rumors and all the things that are said out there, you got to take them with a grain of salt. Number one. Number two, this is a 16-year-old kid, right? I mean, like he reclassified. He's still 16 years old. He's a young kid. He's got a lot of people in his ear. I think that we just need to kind of sit back and see what happens. I mean, if the kid is showing up to the school when spring practice is starting, he's not enrolled yet, obviously. But if he's showing up and he's there, it's got to be a good sign for Miami, I think. So I think that with Antoine Jackson, I think it's kind of a wait and see, but that's a good sign to see him on campus on Saturday when spring football started. And I think that's a good thing. So we'll see what happens. And I love for him to stick because he is a talented player, and I think he can come in and in the next 2 or 3 years be a special defensive back here in Miami. So Blue and DJ and Vish, I kind of wanted to get one name. And Vish, I know this is a tough one. And by the way, yes, I still do want Antoine Jackson. Why wouldn't I want him? Right? He's a very, very good player. I understand all the craziness and all the crap that's been going on with him and the drama and the chaos. But if the kid wants to stay here and play, I definitely want a kid like Antoine Jackson on this team. He's that talented. I think he can do well. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, he's young. Let him, let it all kind of play out. If he leaves, it is what it is. DJ, if you had to pick one guy, since we're on the topic of recruits, if we had to pick one guy that you think will be, I don't, the first, not the first commit, because I think we have already a commit, a kicker or something like that. But if you had to pick our next commit for 2024, what is the one name that you would pick right off the bat? Who'd be the guy that you'd choose?
That's a tough one. I mean, to me, Miami recently offered a tight end. Actually, not recently, but a couple weeks ago in Carter Nelson. He's one of the top tight ends in the 2024 class, and I know we have an abundance of tight ends, but we still don't know what we're going to get out of the room. And, with Mallory gone, you need succession plans in place. And, we still don't know what we're going to get from the young tight end. So to me, getting another one into the room while cutting some of the dead weight, so to speak, off the squad, I think would be a smart move because there is no doubt there's talent in the room. It's just about continuing to develop it.
Vish, who do you think? If you had to choose one player as the next commit for Miami, who would it be?
I have no idea order here, but if I could pick one player to commit, it would be Joshisa Trader. I don't know if I said his name right, but
Josiza, yeah.
Josiza. We're not good on the pronunciations on this show.
Jojo, because I have
and the reason behind that is I'm a big believer in playmaking, and the kid's explosive, and sign me up, the Chris Johnson type. Sign me up for get the ball to this guy, and he'll just make plays. You can make your coaches look smart very easily when you have playmakers, and he's the one who jumps off of me in the 24 class. It's get this kid on campus, get the ball in his hands, and then watch the magic happen.
Not only that, I know a lot of people hype up his teammate Jeremiah Smith as being the number one wide receiver in the country. Don't be surprised if Jojo Trader is right there with him, if not just as good of a wide receiver. I think those two are 1A, 1B, and you can kind of mix and match as to who the best wide receiver in the country is. That's how good I think Jojo Trader is. So I really like him. Who's the guy that you think could be the next one to pop off, Blue?
Well, like you said, Jeremiah Smith, I mean, he's a freak show. I mean, he's almost 6'4". And I watched him. He's running track now, and he's killing people, and obviously getting a JoJo Trader would be in. There's two guys that I think that I'd like to see Miami get. One of them is David Stone at IMG Academy, very close to the guys that are here now from IMG. He's a defensive lineman. He's about 6'4", 270, 75, real quick, big time type of kid. And the other guys, I'd love to see Zaquan Patterson, because he's got the athletic ability to perhaps be the next really, really, really good, could be the next Cam Kitchens. He's that big. He's getting bigger and bigger all the time. I like him a lot. He's a very intelligent kid. He, as a kid, will be a 4-year varsity starter. He started out at True Prep University School, whatever they want to call it. But I think those two guys, I don't know if you ever watched Stone play, but this kid's a beast. And,
yeah, Stone is one of the best in the country, so for sure.
Yeah, and if
I think the better shot right now is with Zaquan, though, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, but still, Stone is a guy because he's got all those friends down here. Right. And if they say, hey, listen, we're building something really, really special. And so it's going to be word of mouth. But you're 100% right. A lot of these kids, when you ask Vish what's been the hold back on getting kids from 2024. Well, the main thing is up until last week, you didn't even have a defensive end coach, and you didn't have a wide receiver coach, and you just recently got a running back coach. So there wasn't a lot to sell to. And I think we went over this all January and into a lot of the February is what playback book they're using. What are they going to sell these recruits on? So now you got the whole package. And I think that now there's, like I said, there's no more BSing around. I mean, you got guys on campus, from Hall of Famers in the NFL who really give their all to guys that are very familiar with South Florida, in Kevin Beard and in Timmy Harris, and two fresh faces who come in with a lot of accolades from running offenses and running defenses. So I think the excuse line is getting a lot thinner. So now I think they come in here and you've got dudes that want to be here. And the ones that don't, well, they already saw the blueprint. There's the door, so they already know that Mario's not going to be afraid to pull the trigger and get rid of your butt. So, because it's his reputation on the line. He made a lot of promises when he walked in that door where this program's headed. And, but he can't do it by himself.
So I got two guys that I was thinking about. I said another one earlier today on Lex's show and the Average Kings fans. I did mention Brandon Baker, the big lineman. I think he's one of the most talented linemen in the country, and so I'd love to see that guy pull the trigger first. But they made a good point, and now that I think about it, look, it all starts with the guy throwing the football, and I think that if you can get it, I think that there's one guy out there specifically right now. I think Miami tries to get two quarterbacks in this class, by the way, but that's just. But I think the first guy that might pull the trigger is Aaron Nolan. I think that quarterback, the quarterback solidifies the rest of the class too. This class will start moving once they see who's going to throw the ball to them. Who's out there. I mean, there's some other top quarterbacks out there like a Michael Van Buren who's looking at Miami. Luke Moga as well. AJ Hairston, I believe is his name. The other quarterback that's a local
Monarch,
kid. Yeah, very, very talented kid and highly underrated right now, kind of like Emory Williams, right?
Yeah.
So and Aaron Nolan is highly regarded. He's a big time quarterback. He's a lefty, which you don't see a lot in Miami either. But he's a big time lefty with a strong arm, big kid, 6'4", big long kid. Has an absolute cannon for an arm, but he fits this kind of offense perfectly too because he's got some wheels as well. So I think a guy like Aaron Nolan, who is favoring Miami big time. I know there's another big offensive lineman, Mike Williams, I believe his name is, that has Miami out in front big time. He's another big time prospect who's an offensive lineman that could pull the trigger soon as well. So look for some of those guys. But I think if you get it going with a high caliber quarterback like an Aaron Nolan, I think you're setting yourself up for a great 2024 recruiting class also. So those are just some names that I'm throwing out there. But the most important to me, Vish mentioned, man, is JoJo Trader. That wide receiver room needs to be continuously be built up, and pinned down. By the way, you bring up a good point. This season, this recruiting class 2024 is loaded at defensive tackles, and this is the season this is the class that we need to go get those guys, because we are running kind of low on defensive tackles if you think about it, right? So I think this is going to be a big recruiting cycle for the defensive line as well. So nice point on your part there. Listen, guys, obviously spring football is still going on. We'll be covering the spring game as well in April 14th, I believe. I'm sure Blue and myself will be at that game, covering that as well. But make sure you all keep it locked here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel for us every Monday at 8:30 p.m. as we'll give updates on recruiting. Right now, it's really recruiting and some spring football. Maybe we will talk a little bit next week on potential lineups that we want to see, kind of like our first, second, third team stuff coming out of spring too. What we think are going to be those numbers as we start getting closer to the spring game. So make sure you keep it locked there. We'll kind of break down position by position also. Check us out. Again, make sure you check us out every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, YouTube. And, of course, check us out on Twitter at 6 Rings Canes. Vish, any parting words?
Yeah, just I'm going to continue to drop those midweek shows if you're interested in hoops.
Yeah, you're doing great. Those are great.
Those are awesome, man.
They are the best team in the ACC. So we know football pays the bills just like it does at UM. So this show will continue to be mostly football. But
well, Selection Sunday next week,
yeah.
So we'll kind of have a good idea where everybody's going.
Yeah, and the women also should be in the tournament as well. So we'll see where they're going. We're going to ignore baseball for this week because that didn't happen yesterday. But
well.
Saturday's game happened. The other two didn't. Saturday's game definitely happened.
Gotta get some pitching.
Boy, do we have to get some pitching. But anyway, I'm going to keep doing those. So if you're interested in kind of basketball, baseball, be doing those midweek shows. Maybe I'll pull Jazz into some of this baseball talk at some point.
I'll get in on them. I promise. Okay.
And then obviously
last week sucked for me. No,
I know. And then obviously Jazz mentioned this earlier. Formula One's back, so definitely check out our Formula One show. Wednesdays, 8 p.m. New time.
That's going to be fun, especially for me this week after these bozos, what they did. Anyways, we love you guys. Keep it real. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Go Canes.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show.